give you an overview of what the University of Glasgow is like, what kind of experience you might expect from Glasgow, hopefully answering some of your questions that you will have about study at Glasgow too. So the picture you're looking at just now is a picture of a kind of view of the city of Glasgow from the university itself. So that tower in the foreground is a very famous tower, part of our campus, and I'll show you some more. All the way through, we'll be looking at pictures of the campus. Those are the background to most of my slides, so hopefully you'll enjoy those as well. You can see that building in the distance, which is like a kind of silver disc. Those are some of our large music venues that we have, which are down by the River Clyde. So we're very famous as a music city. Obviously, in normal times, outside of any pandemic, we have a lot of music events that go on in the city of Glasgow, and I'll say a bit more about those in a moment too. So here's a few key facts about Glasgow for you. We were established in 1451, so we are quite an old university. We're classified as one of the ancient universities in Scotland, and there's 3 others. So the others are Edinburgh, Aberdeen, and St Andrews. St Andrews is the oldest, but we have quite a long, you can see we've got a long history of higher education in Scotland. We actually had 4 universities in Scotland, while England only had 2. And they were Oxford and Cambridge. So there was a point in time where we actually had twice as many universities as England. So that's quite interesting to note. The city of Glasgow has been classified as one of the friendliest cities in the world. So this is by the Rough Guides a few years ago. And we do have a bit of a reputation for being friendly people. You can probably tell from my accent that I am not from Glasgow originally. So I moved to Glasgow about 5 years ago for the job that I'm doing there. So I do have an English accent. I mean, I'm from England originally, but I can testify to the friendliness of the people in Glasgow. Really good humour as well. Lots of comedy that comes from Glasgow as well. So it's quite nice to get engaged with all of that. And I mentioned before that we have the City of Music status from UNESCO, which means that in normal times we have as many as 300 music events happening every week in the city of Glasgow, at large venues and also at very tiny venues as well. So it's really nice to know that if you come to Glasgow, there's a lot of culture for you to experience. And as Alejandro was saying earlier, things are starting to open up quite slowly in the city, within Scotland and in the UK as well. We seem to be doing a bit better with the pandemic now. I guess we don't quite know what the future holds entirely. So we're not 100% sure that it will keep going in this direction. We will have the winter to get through, and there's always talk in the news about, is there going to be a 3rd wave? But what I will say is it's not been a great pandemic for the UK, as it hasn't been for a lot of countries. But right now, things are looking better because the vaccination program's going quite well. We're now at the point where we're vaccinating people aged under the age of 30. So we are getting through all the ages of the population a bit quicker than we expected we might. And I think that means that our numbers in hospital and mortality rates have dropped right down. So that's quite encouraging. But obviously, there's always been an unexpected element to the pandemic, and we just don't know what's around the corner. But we're hoping for something like a fairly normal start to the academic year in September, which will probably include blended learning. So there'll be a bit of online lectures. Any large lectures that go on will be probably delivered online, and that will continue to happen. But smaller classes, laboratory-based classes should be going on face-to-face. So we're trying to get prepared for that and make sure that everybody's safe at the same time. A few other key facts about Glasgow. So if you're thinking about rankings and quality, then we are a very good university. We're a top 100 university according to the Times Higher Education and the QS World Rankings. This year we got the UK University of the Year Award from the Times Higher Education Awards, so that's really exciting. We're also a member of the Russell Group, so you may have heard of this group. It's a group of research-intensive universities in the UK. There's 23 of them, and I suppose it's a little bit like the Ivy League in the USA, if you're looking for a kind of comparison. The size of the university, we are considered quite large, and we have 29,000 students from over 140 countries. Now, compared to a lot of Mexican institutions, 29,000 possibly doesn't sound that big. I know it's nothing like as big as universities like UNAM, but for the UK, that would be considered a kind of medium to large institution. The largest one we have in the UK is Manchester, which is just over 40,000 students. So that gives you a bit of a context in terms of size of universities we have. We have lots of other rankings that go through. So we have UK rankings. We're 12th in the UK, according to The Guardian at the moment. We've got new rankings that are about to be announced this week. I'm not allowed to tell you what they are, but they're quite good. So they're going in the right direction, which is encouraging. And also, depending on what you want to study, you can look at subject rankings as well. And these are just a few examples of the top 5 subject rankings that we have right across the university. So lots related to health, for example. And I know that at the moment, health is a big focus for the big sponsors like CONACYT. So it's useful for you to know that we're number 1 in a lot of health areas, in areas like medicine, veterinary medicine, dentistry, nursing. All of those we're number 1 in the whole of the UK. So we're very proud of that. But we also have lots of other areas like public health, well-being, lots of areas to offer. So there's loads of master's programs in that area if that's what you're looking for. But in addition to that, we have really strong rankings right across the university. So in areas like finance, in areas like languages, film, TV studies, and then lots of areas like engineering and geography, we're particularly well represented in the rankings. You might be wondering about the community of Mexican students at Glasgow. So I mentioned before that we have 29,000 students from over 140 countries. I'm the person who looks after recruitment of students from Latin America overall. And Mexico is the country where we have the most students from Latin America. So at the moment, we have around 50 students altogether. And Latin Americans, we have around 200. So Mexicans represent about 25% of the Latin American population. The nice thing about our Latin American students is they are spread right across the university. They're not concentrated in any particular subject area at the moment. They do tend to be mainly coming for masters and also for PhD. So they tend to be studying at that level. We have a handful that come for undergraduate programs as well. We also have good relationships with the main sponsors and funding bodies. So I've mentioned CONACYT already. We offer a 30% discount with CONACYT. And then we also have discount agreements with FUNED and FIDER as well, if you're looking for those funding opportunities. Going back to our history a little bit, it's worth noting that we have some very famous alumni going back, centuries. So, for example, we have Adam Smith, who was the founder of modern economics. So he studied at Glasgow many years ago, but also taught at Glasgow too. And we've named our business school after him. And then we also have famous engineers like James Watt, who studied at Glasgow as well. And he was a key figure in the Industrial Revolution. And we've named our School of Engineering after him. Also, lots of famous scientists like Lord Kelvin, the man who helped to invent the television, John Logie Baird, and Joseph Black, and many others. And we also have 7 Nobel laureates coming from the University of Glasgow too. Some of our famous alumni are more recent as well, so we don't always just focus on the alumni from hundreds of years ago. You can see a list of people there that you may have heard of, people who work in the arts, like the producer and writer for Doctor Who, Stephen Moffat, our own First Minister of Scotland, so the leader of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, or studied law at Glasgow as well. And then we've got a few other famous politicians, businessmen that have studied at Glasgow too. So if you're thinking about Glasgow, you're probably also thinking about Scotland as well, that you're making a choice to come to Scotland and to Glasgow. Glasgow is the largest city in Scotland, and we have a population in the wider area of about 1 million people. And we have been getting lots of very nice accolades for the city in recent years because there's been a lot of development in Glasgow that's been really positive. So we had the Commonwealth Games that happened in 2014. We had the European Games in 2018. So while those are just sporting events, they've helped to really develop the city and make it feel a lot more dynamic. And so as a result, we've started to get lots of famous rankings for being the best city in the world, the friendliest city in the world, etc. So I think there's been a bit of a buzz around Glasgow in recent years, and people feel quite excited about visiting Glasgow as a tourist. Obviously, the other famous city in Scotland is Edinburgh, and that's only about 45 minutes by train away from Glasgow. But they're very different cities, and it's really nice to experience both whenever you can. But in addition to that, in Scotland, we have beautiful landscapes and scenery. So if any of you have ever watched programs like Outlander, you'll get a kind of image of what Scottish countryside and scenery is like. The picture that I'm showing you now is a picture of our most famous lake in Scotland, which we call them lochs in Scotland. So these This is Loch Lomond, and it's 40 minutes away from Glasgow by train and by car. So it's really easy to access this kind of scenery. Even if you don't have your own car, you can just do it for a day or a weekend and have a proper escape from the city whenever you want to. So what we're going to try and do now is show a quick video of some of our students' experience of Glasgow, and hopefully it plays okay and you enjoy it. Thanks, Alejandro.
People here are just the nicest I've ever met, and they're so welcoming.
If you move past them in the street, they'll smile at you.
People are just so open and outgoing.
I think the sense of humour here is unique. There's no faffing about with Glaswegians, they'll tell you what you need to hear.
It's just thrown around in such a playful way. No one takes offense. This is just banter.
When we first moved to Glasgow, my partner was actually a little concerned that he might need subtitles.
The language is really tricky.
You have to get used to like a whole entire dictionary of new and inventive ways to swear.
They don't care. They'll still speak to you and they'll still show you the same friendliness, and it's just a friendly city.
And eventually you start to get the slang and you start to get the context of everything.
Glaswegians love to approach us and talk to us, ask us where we're from and why we're here. Like, that's so cool, come have a drink with me.
They like to talk to strangers, they'll give you directions if you're lost.
Yeah, friendly people. Glaswegians are friendly people. Is that what you wanted? Is that what you wanted?
Oh, thanks for that, Alejandro. Yeah, so that's really just to show you a little bit of what Glasgow is like, and also continue with that theme of what it's like to live with Glaswegians and what the kind of atmosphere in the city is like. I hope you got a bit of an idea of that. There's loads more videos like that on our website and on our YouTube channel if you want to sort of feel more of the experience. So if the slide we're looking at now is like an aerial view of the university. It's not actually the most up-to-date picture, because if you can see the bit where it says the James McCune Smith Learning Hub, that has opened now and it's been built. It's not actually showing in that picture. So it's a really state-of-the-art building that we have to really enhance our students' learning experience and enable them to collaborate with each other a lot more than they've been able to in the past. And then going round the picture clockwise, you can see our library as well. So that's much more of a modern building than the central part of the campus. It's 13 floors of library. It's open 24 hours a day, so it's there whenever you need it. And then you can also see the Fraser building, which is all of our student resources and support services. They're located in one place, and that includes the International Student Support Team who are located there. So any kind of help you need, you can access it in that one place. And then coming into the middle of the picture, you can see again the picture of the main building. So this is where the campus really started to develop from, and it's continuing to develop, as you can see, with all the different buildings around it. So this was designed in the late 1800s, and the tower is a really famous part of the Glasgow skyline. But it does help to lend a bit of atmosphere to the campus. People get really charmed by this part of the campus in particular. It reminds them of Hogwarts, Harry Potter, that kind of thing. So it has that real ancient university atmosphere within it as well. So this is a picture actually of the James McCune Learning Hub that I mentioned earlier on. So this is now ready to go. So in spite of the pandemic, we've managed to complete the building work on this and use it so that it's going to be ready now for this year to be used by students. And it just gives a lot more space students to do a bit more interdisciplinary research and lots of collaboration, problem solving areas, so that students can meet together and have the right kind of spaces to do work outside of the classroom. A really quick overview of what we offer as well. So these are our broad subject areas at Glasgow. So we do offer almost everything. We're a large university. A couple of things we don't offer. We don't have architecture and we don't have chemical engineering, but we offer most subject areas that you can see listed there. And there's a whole range of master's programs within that. We have over 300 master's programs to choose from within those lists. And then thinking about entry requirements as well. So particularly for the Mexican system, we're usually looking at something like an 8 out of 10 grade for entry onto our taught master's programs. So 8 out of 10 or 80%, which way you look at it. If you're going with the GPA system, then we're usually looking for a 3 minimum out of 4 as well. So those are the kind of requirements we have. And similarly, level for research programs, you're probably going to need a master's qualification before coming for a doctorate or a PhD. And we do tend to ask for relevant subjects in most cases. So depending on the masters you do, you're probably going to be expected to have a similar background. That's not always the case. So we do have some programs that allow you to switch, what we might call conversion programs, that you can actually study a master's in that program without having really had the background before. Just a quick overview of our entry requirements for English language as well. So we take a range of tests. IELTS is the one that we tend to mention the most, and it's often on our offer letters as well. But we also accept the IBT test for TOEFL and lots of others, including CPE and Pearson as well. And in addition to that, we also accept some online tests at the moment, because we know it's been quite hard to access secure examination style tests with the pandemic going on. So we are continuing to accept the TOEFL at home test and also the Duolingo test as well. On top of that, if you've taken an IELTS or a TOEFL test maybe 3 years ago, we will also consider that now. So we will consider a test that's up to 4.5 years old. Before the pandemic, we only would allow a test to be 2 years old, but now we've extended that to 4.5 if you need that extra flexibility. Here's a quick overview of our fees as well. So they do vary a little bit depending on what you want to study. So if you're wanting to study something that requires laboratory and lots of materials, then you will pay a bit more generally. But then also you can see that some of our business programs are premium priced as well, like the MBA, for example, attracts a higher price tag too. But that's the kind of range of fees that you can expect to find if you were coming to Glasgow. You'd probably be wondering about funding and scholarships, of course, as well. So as I mentioned before, we do have agreements with the main funding bodies in Mexico. That includes CONACYT, also FUNED as well. We also have an agreement with Chevening. So if you're lucky enough to get a Chevening award, that will give you everything you need, and we will give a 20% discount on the fees as well. But if you aren't lucky enough to get any of these scholarships, we do have our own scholarships that are on offer too. The only thing to be aware of is that they don't give you everything you need. They give you something like a significant discount on the fees. So we have scholarships worth either £10,000 or £5,000. So depending on the program you're doing, you might be able to get something like up to 50% reduction on the tuition fee for your program, which can really help with your funding as well. There's obviously living expenses that you need to think about as well when you're thinking about your funding for study. So we tend to estimate that for study and life in Glasgow, you're going to need around £1,000 per month to live reasonably well. It's worth noting that Glasgow is quite an affordable city compared to many other university cities across the UK. Generally speaking, we're a lot cheaper than places like London, and the place where you save your money is on accommodation costs. So that's what makes a big difference. If you were choosing to live in London, you might pay double, like £1,000 a month just on your rent, whereas you can get it for a lot cheaper in a place like Glasgow. So the further north you go up the UK, it tends to get a bit cheaper. But what I would say is that the quality of life in Glasgow is really good for what you would pay for it. So although you're not paying as much to live, you are still living in an exciting, beautiful and vibrant city. So you're not really losing too much by choosing a place like Glasgow. And it's recently, as you can see, been voted the 4th most affordable student city in the UK. So thinking about a few practical things here as well. Your accommodation that you might be applying for, we guarantee that until August of the year that you might want to come and study with us. So even if you're thinking of applying this year, or you've got an offer with us for this year, it's not too late to apply for accommodation with us. You do need to have a conditional, an offer that you've accepted, but then you're eligible to apply for that. And we have really good support facilities now for COVID-19. Right now, we still have requirements on certain countries to quarantine on arrival. And that might be the case in September. We're not 100% sure. So we've got all of the support systems available now. If students need to quarantine within their residence, within their accommodation, we can support them and make sure they have what they need when they first arrive. And then a little bit about student life as well. So these are some of the support services that we offer for all of our students. And they are very professional support services that we have. So we have accommodation. I mentioned before that we have international student support, but also areas like disability, student counselling. We have a really good careers service as well. So these are the kind of professional support systems that we have offered within the university. And then on top of that, you have another layer of support which comes from the student body, which is also really, really strong. So we have the Student Representative Council, which helps to represent students who are having any difficulties. And on top of that, we have 2 student unions. So most universities in the UK will only have 1, but we have 2. And those student unions tend to also represent the interests of students, but also help to organise a lot of the social activities. And they tend to run all of the clubs and societies that you can join. So we have over 250 of these clubs and societies. And they focus on all kinds of areas like culture. It could be the arts, it could be sport related. So anything that you're interested in, you can find a society that you might be able to join. And on top of that, we have very good sport facilities right on the campus as well. So you can expect all of the main facilities that you would get from a sports services on campus, which are really, really strong. I'm going to mention as well before I stop that we have a really good service called Ask a Student, also known as UniBuddy. So this gives you a chance to chat to students who've already studied at Glasgow, who are currently at Glasgow, or who may have just graduated, and they will share their experience with you. And you often see these boxes when you're on our program pages. If you're looking at a particular program that you'd like to apply to, then these boxes usually pop up in the bottom right corner, and they can help to answer any questions that you might have about studying at Glasgow. On top of that, you'll find people like me there as well. So some of you might have been in touch with me already on this, but me and my colleagues who work all around the world and represent different parts of the world are there and available to answer questions as well if you do have them. So that's where I'm going to stop for now. I noticed that we did have a question already about applying to a master's degree, and I haven't really covered that. So I think maybe I'll just do that now, if that's okay. So for applying to a master's degree, it's really quite straightforward. You only need to go to the program page of the program that you're interested in. And that means that you would just need to apply directly. You've got a how to apply button. All you have to do is submit an application. So you fill in the application online. The documents we require would be your transcript. So we need your transcript, your degree certificate. We need them both in Spanish and in English. We'd need reference as well. Sometimes we ask for 2 references, but they need to be academic references as well. So we need all of those things. We don't always need a personal statement. So sometimes some courses will ask for this, but we, as a rule, generally don't. So you may not have to fill in a personal statement where you talk about your personal motivation for applying. Some programs need this, but the majority at Glasgow don't need this. So the application process is relatively straightforward. It's more a case of getting together the documents that you need to make sure you've got something so we can give you a fairly quick answer. It probably taking us at the moment between 4 and 6 weeks to answer applications. So we've had a lot of applications this year, and our admissions team have been very busy. So we're racing through them as quickly as we can, but it can take a few weeks to get an answer. But when you do get an answer, you should have something like a conditional offer or an unconditional offer. Usually if it's conditional, it means we're still waiting for something like your degree certificate or maybe your English certificate. With the majority of Mexican students, it's probably going to be the English that we're waiting for. Once you have all of that done, then you've got an unconditional offer, and then you're in a position to start going to the next stage, applying for your visa before you actually come to stay with us in Glasgow. Hope that helps with the question, Odalise. Okay, so next question is, what about traveling with your family? So yeah, this is perfectly possible. When you come, you would get a visa, which would be a tier 4 visa. And if you are bringing family with you, assuming it's your spouse and your children, then you'll be able to get dependent visa for those as well. And we can give you advice about finding schools if you have children with you that you need to put into school as well. It's all a completely public school system that we have within Glasgow, so there's no real problem. There's no school fees to pay unless you particularly want to go privately. Okay, so next question from Guillermo. So this is international scientific collaborations coping with Brexit and COVID. Yeah, so that's an interesting question. So I guess the worry with Brexit, of course, with research is the funding. So we've had access to a lot of European funding for research in the past, and in some ways that is still continuing. So we're not completely excluded from it. But it was a worry when Brexit first happened that we thought maybe we get excluded from a lot of European style funding. But actually, it's going better than we thought it would. So collaborations, international collaborations have been really quite strong. I guess probably one effect of Brexit is that researchers and staff at the university are looking wider. They're looking beyond Europe more than they might have done before. So that's usually quite encouraging for you in Mexico. It means that they're looking for a bit more collaboration further afield than they might have done before. You mentioned COVID as well. I mean, obviously that's limited us all in many, many ways. So we haven't been able to travel. We've been having to do everything online. And obviously our labs for a little while were closed down, but they have been opening up just now. So we're having to operate a 2-meter social distance rule at the moment, which we hope will go down to 1 meter so that we can then manage to do a little bit more work effectively within our laboratories. But most research labs have now reopened at Glasgow. Hope that helps, Guillermo. So translations in English, I'm not sure about what that question means, Odalise, sorry. I don't know if you can clarify.
Odalise, hi, it's Alejandro from Love UK. So I think that question is more for Love UK, as we generally help the students throughout the application process. I know that translations to English are one of the requirements to apply to the university. So we do definitely give some contact details for qualified translators to help you with your documents. So when we are in the process of your gathering of documents, we can send you the contact details for these translators, no problem. As I said before, at the end we'll contact you, everyone that is logged in here, and so that you can have our contact details and start the advisory, and it's free, of course.
Thanks, Alejandro. That's great. So Maria's asking about when the application for 2022 will open. Normally we open new applications by the end of September. So hopefully September 2021, at the end of the month, we should be able to open up applications for 2022. I hope that helps you. Okay, so Valeria is asking about masters full-time and part-time. So yeah, it's worth noting that the masters pattern for the UK is a 1 year. It's a 1 year program full-time, and I know that in a lot of other countries it's 2 years. So that might seem quite unusual. We tend to pack it all in, and so it's quite an intensive experience. I would say that really all of our international students that require a visa have to come for the full-time program. The 1 year program. Not all of our masters offer a part-time option. Some do, but it's not that many. And the point of the part-time option, whether it's 2 years or a bit longer, is really for people who are already living in the UK and want to continue working while doing a master's. So it's not actually possible to get a visa for a part-time program if you're an international student. So for most of you, you'll probably only have the choice of doing the full-time masters for 1 year, which is a full 12 months. The part-time option is probably not going to be open to you unless you've already been living in the UK and working here. So we have Olga asking about vaccines as well. We are waiting to get news about this. I don't know if we're going to get it very soon, but we do need a policy from the UK at the moment. We are talking about having red lists and amber lists for certain countries, and what that means at the moment. If your country is classified as red by the UK, that means that you would have to quarantine for 10 days on arrival, and it means at the moment that you would have to quarantine in a specific hotel. But there's a lot of discussion going on about this, so that situation might change. The quarantine might not change, but we might be able to be more flexible about where you have to quarantine, because I think hotels might start to run out of space. It's not really a great experience. It's quite expensive. We're hoping that we can offer that quarantine service within our own student accommodation so that you don't have to change where you're living, even if you do have to self-isolate for the first 10 days that you're in the UK or in Glasgow. So that's the quarantine side of things. When it comes to vaccines, if we're hearing about different vaccines all over the world and different vaccines get approved in different countries, at the moment we are in the UK, we're taking AstraZeneca and Pfizer, Moderna. So those are the ones that seem to be being used right now. We've not had any policy statement on what vaccines we will accept when people come into the country. It could be that the quarantine requirements remain into September. We're getting closer to September now, and it might be that the quarantine just remains because people are getting vaccines from different places. Vaccine certification is not that strong. It's not even very strong in the UK yet. So how do you prove you've had a vaccine and which one? I don't really know what the policy is going to be in that area. But what we do know at the moment is that I guess the worst case scenario is the 10-day quarantine on arrival. That's looking like it might be the situation that we have in September, but it's really developing quite quickly. So we'll have to keep updating you and see how it develops over the next couple of months. So yes, so Montserrat, sounds like you have an unconditional offer for 2021. What you can do is you would need to request a deferral. So we call it deferring your offer so that you can then use it in 2022. You do need to request this though, Montserrat, so do be aware it's not an automatic thing, and we do have to approve it as well, because particularly during the pandemic we've had more deferral requests than we've had before. Understandably, when people don't feel like they can travel or commit to having a year away when things are so uncertain. But that means that we can't necessarily approve a deferral that readily. So you do have to ask for it, and we have to get an approval from us. But to be honest, even if you didn't get a deferral approved, the worst that would happen is that you'd have to just reapply with the same documents that you applied for 2021. So the answer really is we hope that you could use it for 2022, but it's not guaranteed, and you definitely must request it. It's not automatic in any way, but if it doesn't work out, all you have to do is resubmit an application fairly quickly for 2022, so all is not lost. So scholarships from the school or the UK for international students. So I guess scholarships from the UK, we would say we have things like Chevening. So that comes from the British government. And that's a very good scholarship, but also very competitive, but it gives you all the funding that you could need. But we also, from the University of Glasgow, have our own scholarships. They're worth up to a maximum of £10,000. So they don't give you all of your funding, but they give you something like up to 50% reduction on your tuition fee costs. So it's good to know that you do have that. Okay, so Diego's asking about living and working once finishing the master degree. So yeah, we do have a nice development that's happened in the last year, which is the graduate route. This is a special kind of visa that allows you to remain in the UK for 2 years after finishing your master's degree. And you can find any kind of job. I mean, we don't require that you earn a certain amount or do a certain kind of job. It's very flexible in terms of the job that you might find. So it's not really a different visa. It's a continuation of your master's visa, but you do have to apply for the graduate route. So there is a process to go through. It's new this year, so it's only starting this summer. And it requires you to have been here for a certain time for your master's program as well. But we've just launched it, so it does give that flexibility, which allows you to stay a bit longer and work and experience the UK for a bit longer. There's only a bit of, if you do get funding from somewhere like CONACYT, then it's a bit more restricted. They may require you to come back sooner. So do be aware of that if you're sponsored by anyone. So the Glasgow scholarships that we have do apply to the MBA, but the MBA also has its own scholarships as well. So they do offer quite generous scholarships. The MBA is around £29,000, but they have their own scholarships worth £10,000, and sometimes they add a little bit more to that. So they have quite a flexible scholarship scheme for the MBA themselves. So it is quite generous. So is that all the questions we have for now?
Yeah, I think that was the last questions that we have at the moment. I don't know if anyone else have any questions to add before Joe leaves for the day. So if so, please do type it. I think someone's typing. So let's wait and see. Okay, Guillermo, just to thank you. Thank you.
That's very nice. Thank you, Guillermo.
Someone else is typing also. So let's check what they have to say.
I guess while we wait, just to say a little bit more about what's going on, because the uncertainty you might have is around COVID. Some of you might be applying for 2022, and we hope, God willing, that we'll be in a much better situation by then. But if you are thinking of 2021, just be assured that we're going to try and offer you the best experience we can while keeping you safe. So we probably are looking at something like blended learning or hybrid learning. You will have some face-to-face teaching, but things like large lectures with more than, say, 50 people are probably going to continue online for quite a while yet, just to keep everybody safe. So Valerie is asking about the CONACYT scholarship. And do you apply once getting into the university? No, Valerie, you would need to apply for that. Once you have your offer for the university, that's when you apply for CONACYT. And then you would come to join us probably in September, October for your program if you're successful.
Yeah, that's another thing that we at Love UK could help you, Valeria, to just lay out how the timeline works for everything that you need to sort out before going to Glasgow, which is applying to a university, applying to a scholarship, applying to accommodation, applying to your visa, and then going to the university. So that's part of what we do at Love UK. So please, if you want to apply to Glasgow, get in contact with us, and we can sort out the process for you.
Yeah, and thanks for saying that, Alejandro. And also, I wanted to say I really recommend the service that Love UK provide. Don't forget, it's free of charge as well, so they will help you right through the process, make sure that you get everything right. And particularly when you get to the stage of applying for funding and applying for your visa, it's really nice to have someone like Alejandro and his colleagues checking that over for you, making sure that you don't make any mistakes. Because you only do this really once, but they do it time and time again, so they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, we do it every year. We've been doing this for 11 years now. So we know a thing about it, and we can help you out to have the smoothest process as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for your kind words, Joe.
No worries, that's fine.
Okay, someone else is typing. Let's give it another minute.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone else have any questions, please do type them in right now. Or if not, if you remember something else afterwards, then please feel free to contact me and Joe. And if we can, we will help you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's wait for that last question. Okay.
So where can I send my information to start the process of applying? Yeah, so
okay.
I guess, sorry, you go for it, Alejandro.
Yeah, sorry, Joe. So Victor, after this presentation, we will be sending you an email to thank you for being in here. And we will give you the contact details for Love UK and myself, so that you can start the application process for University of Glasgow. We will let you know what's the first step that you need to do to be able to go to Glasgow, and so on.
Great.
De nada, Victor.
So I guess, Alejandro, most people here are thinking of 2022, do you think, or?
Yeah, I mean, for because of the kind of questions that we're getting, I think that most of them are going for 2022. That the student that is trying to defer her offer, then she's probably going this year, and I hope someone else is trying to, or in the same situation, or had applied to 2021. So yeah, I'll try to sort that out with all the people that registered for this. And yeah, just like Gabriel said, that he's asking if he still wants to apply for, or if it's still possible to apply for 2021. It's still possible, Gabriel. However, you need to be quick about it, especially if you want to have scholarships, or if you want yeah, sometimes some of the programs are closing right now at this time, just because it's late. It's a little bit late in the year, and some courses close because of the sheer amount of students that have registered. So we'll need to have a look on the status of your documents and see if it's possible to apply for 2021.
Yeah, we've got a question from Valerie about if the title doesn't arrive by the application date. We do what we can to make you an offer with what you send us. So if you've got a transcript for what you have so far, then we can try to make you at least a conditional offer. But by the time to make an unconditional offer, we do need your degree certificate, and you certainly need that for your visa as well. So
and also if you want. Sorry, Joe. And also, if she wants to apply for CONACYT, they will also ask for their certificate. So yeah, it's a tricky situation, and a lot of students are in that position at the moment just because of the pandemic. CEP, as you know, is a little bit slow, and because of the pandemic, it's pulling a little bit slower because of it. So a lot of students are struggling to get their certificates on time. So yeah, but Valeria, please do get in contact, and we can sort out what's the best thing for you to do to check if it's possible still to apply without the certificate, and then you can do it.
And then I can see, yeah, we have Ankel's asked about PhD. Sorry, I didn't really cover that in much detail, but if you're looking for a PhD at Glasgow, the first thing to do really is try and find a supervisor at the university. And we have quite a good search facility on our website, which is called Search for a Supervisor. So all you have to do is put in keywords that relate to what your PhD will be about. And then you might find a list of people in the right kind of subject areas that are looking at your area. You have to play with it a little bit and see what results you get. You can also look in different ways. We have research institutes in lots of different areas, so you can look through those as well and see what kind of research institutes and centres and the kind of focus we have. But that's really the first step, is try to find a supervisor, and you can email them. You can see profiles of all of our staff. You can send an email to them, and when you do that, I recommend you give a quick summary of what you want your PhD to be about. Explain why you've emailed to them in particular, because they like to feel special and that you haven't sent the same email to 40 other people. So you need to make it look quite personal. And then also maybe mention funding. If you have a chance, if you think you're doing the right kind of subject area to apply for CONACYT funding, then you should mention that you could get funding from the Mexican government. That's always appealing, because we at UK universities, we don't have a lot of funding to support international students right through their PhDs. So the majority of our international PhD students will have funding from their own home governments in most cases. So medical care programs, I'm thinking, Diego, you're thinking about, like, when you're studying, are you going to get, what kind of healthcare will you get? I think that's a question, isn't it? So what we do, we have a free health service in the UK. We call it the National Health Service. So it's free at the point of use. It means that any kind of problems that you're having, if you're feeling unwell, you'll have access to a doctor. We have general practitioner doctors on campus. If you need to see somebody, we have very good hospitals in Glasgow. We also have very good medical schools, so we have a teaching hospital as well. So any kind of medical care that you need, you will get, and you won't have to pay for it at the point of use. What you do have to do when you apply for your visa is pay a surcharge for NHS care. So, and that's just a fairly small amount of a few £100, but it's a lot cheaper than medical insurance. and it just kind of contributes to keep our health service running, because unlike a lot of countries, we do have a public government-funded health service, which runs quite well, but it needs a little bit of support. So we do ask a little bit of contribution from our international students, but it actually works out a lot cheaper than getting any kind of medical insurance.
Thank you, Joe. So yeah, someone else is typing, so let's wait and see what they have to. Okay, yeah, just a thank you.
It's a very polite audience. I like all the thank yous. Nice.
Yeah. So if anyone else have any questions, this is your time. If not, if we don't get any questions at the moment, then we'll thank Joe for her time, and I like to thank all of you also for your time and for being here and having questions and participating. We'll contact you after this so that you can have our contact details and be able to start the application process for University of Glasgow. Please do get in contact, and hopefully we'll see you in Glasgow this year or next, if possible. Yeah, thank you, Joe, for everything, and have a nice evening. I know it's still sunny, but it's late over there. So yeah, don't let that deceive you and sleep too late.
I'll try not to.
Yeah. So thank you for your time, Joe, and hopefully we'll see each other again soon. If not this, hopefully sometime soon in person. Me visiting Glasgow or you coming to Mexico to do these kind of events in person.
That would be great. Thanks for the arranging, Alejandro, and thanks to all of you for listening. It's been nice to meet you all, and hope to see you soon in real life. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Well, thank you, everyone, and have a good evening, everyone. See you soon. Cheers. Bye.